What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I gathered 7 particular fragrances that, according to you guys, and I don't mean every single one of you, because some people really love these fragrances. There's a few of them that I completely disagree on. And there's a few that I get it. I totally get it. One in particular, it's awful. But these are 7 fragrances that, according to you guys, over the last couple of years have been some of the worst releases in fragrances for one reason or another. And I'll share the reasons I've seen from a lot of people, and then I'll give my thoughts on what I do agree and disagree on. So a little bit different of a topic I figured we'd do today. So let's get into it. Stay tuned. Starting with what a lot of people have dubbed as the worst designer release of this year, 2024, Yves Saint Laurent Y L'Elixir. So, yes and no to me. So with a lot of people, it was about the price point, with it being highly synthetic. It does dry down to basically YEDP. So it does have that apple fruity sweetness. Because this was advertised with frankincense and oud and premium, we assumed premium materials based on the 180 retail price point for this 60 ml of a Y flanker. Craziness. I paid 124, 125 from Fragrance Buy discounted, which I still think is pretty high for this, but I was okay with that price point. I did not want to pay 180. And then when I got it, I was like, it does smell good. I think anybody saying that it just doesn't smell good, I think they're being overly critical personally, unless you just don't care for the scent profile. But if you don't care for the Y scent profile, you wouldn't get this in the first place, because it does tie to the DNA. It does smell like a Y fragrance. Problem is, it's got that synthetic type of oud that you can find in Boss bottled oud that you can get for like $50 for 100 ml. It's now I didn't expect natural oud, but I did expect more of a, maybe a Mancera level type of oud or something, because they charge in Mancera prices for half the amount, because Mancera's retail up until recently was around 180 for 120 ml. This is 180 for 60 ml. So you see where I'm going here. I anticipated something in that realm of quality, which would be an upgrade for this line. Mancera is not upper tier, but affordable niche for sure. Love Mancera. And I typically love this line. I don't love this fragrance, and I see why a lot of people don't. It does perform really well. The problem is, it's not loaded down with incense. It's not super resinous. It doesn't have that animalic tone or funkiness of oud. Like, it doesn't have that artistic feel that I think a lot of people were anticipating based on the marketing behind it and the price point with the notes listed. So, all in all, do I agree that it's the worst designer release of 2024? Based on everything I've tried, if I had to pick one, I guess so. I guess technically it's the least impressive or most underwhelming that I have tried of 2024 based on anticipation versus what was delivered. So I can agree on that. But I still don't think it's a bad fragrance. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10, better than good, which I'm holding to. I don't think it's a bad fragrance. It's just for the line, I think it's the least attractive of the bunch. I literally think every Y flanker, including the original, is better, personally. But again, to each their own. Y Elixir. Now, when this came out last year, there was high expectation, and then it's not for everyone. And the first time I smelled it, that was the first thing out of my mouth is, oh, this one's going to be polarizing. Some people are going to hate this. And I knew, because I got it sent to me, and I actually like it, people were going to say, oh, it's just because you got it for free. Crazy talk. First and foremost, crazy talk. Delusions. It's all over this community. But Elysium Eau Intense from Roja Parfums, while not the best of the Elysiums, and this is where it gets crazy talk from me to you guys, I guess, is I prefer it to the Parfum Cologne, the other blue bottle. I think the Parfum's still the peak. It is the best one of the bunch. It's the most expensive one, but it is the best one. But I kind of like this sour, damp, rhubarb heavy, just twist. It is in many ways a more intensive take. It's reformulated with the same notes. You'll notice that the note tree is the same across all 3 versions of Elysium. And they're all 3 different from one another while still having the same base formula, just reworked, rebalanced, reblended. And I think this is so much more interesting than the other two, and I don't think it gets any respect for that. For Roja Dove trying something different with this profile that I'm here for. I actually quite enjoy. Actually, we're gonna give it a little spritz on the hand to sniff instead of sniffing out the atomizer. Because this is one where I understand, but I disagree. I understand why again, that was the first thing out of my mouth when I smelled it on my first impression unboxing. Was, oh, there's people that are not gonna like this. See, it's got this sourness to it, but I don't mean it in an off-putting manner. It really works. There's more leather here. There's less vetiver. It's not as metallic while still being fruity and citric. You still get the grapefruit and all those good things. Not for everyone. 100% a sample first. Do not blind buy this fragrance. You are potentially setting yourself up for disappointment with Elysium O Intense. Now, this was a release last year that, for me, I think was last year's most disappointing release to me. And it seemed to be the consensus for a lot of people. And it's not bad. It's not a bad fragrance at all. I've worn it. It's just underwhelming because literally every other fragrance in the line, including the original, is better, except for maybe one other one. You'll see. But Wanted Eau de Parfum. Last year's release in the Wanted line. This year we got the Most Wanted EDT Intense, which is far superior to this in my opinion. This isn't bad though. You get the sweetness, you get the spice, there's a little bit of an earthy, woody tone to it. It's not a bad fragrance. It just didn't deliver on bringing anything new or a more attractive twist on the original Wanted, because it's supposed to be an Eau de Parfum flanker to the original Azzaro Wanted. And while I guess technically it does kind of tie closer to the original, I still don't think it's as good, even though it loses some of that Invictus bubblegum appeal that people kind of gave Wanted a hard time for back when Wanted was the new thing, the original Azzaro Wanted. I've always liked that about it. And again, this is not a bad fragrance. It's just last year was packed with really good designer releases, so I could see where this was underwhelming for a lot of people, because it's definitely one of those not reinventing the wheel, just let's put something out. That's really how it seemed the approach was here. Let's put something new out in the line. Not let's try to really bring our best foot forward and recreate something new in the line. It's let's just put something out. That's kind of how I feel it comes across, even though I'm sure that wasn't necessarily the intent behind it. That's how it came across to me. So performance is actually really good on this one. This is an easy 8 hours on skin. Again, it's not special, but it's not bad either. If you like sweet, spicy designers, it's solid. You just have a bunch of them in your collection already, more than likely. If you have 2 or 3, you have most of them, is kind of how you can look at it, and that's what makes this disappointing. This is our Wanted Eau de Parfum. Fresh, brand new release, already getting heat. My dear friend Justin Copeland did his first impression shorts video yesterday at the recording of this, and I literally talked to him on the phone yesterday evening, and it's just like, no presents, he doesn't smell anything, he doesn't even get leather. I get only leather, really. So everybody's experience is going to be different, but one thing that seems to be consensus is performance or lack thereof for people with the new Spicebomb dark leather. I'm not going to argue with people about this being a disappointment. I get it. I'm not disappointed. I'm underwhelmed. You know, I had higher hopes for this, but it was like I explained to Justin on the phone when we talked about it. You can't follow up something that was so good, like Infrared Eau de Parfum, that did leather better than this, I think, with resins and smoke and loads of chili pepper spice and all that. Just did such a great job of refining and maturing an overall youthful DNA. Did such a good job. You then follow it back with a very straightforward leather, light touch of pepper fragrance. That's pretty much what it is. It's a dark leather because of the smokiness, and it's pretty much that. And it doesn't have hefty projection, like it sits close to the skin rather quickly. It could be all of us are experiencing a certain nose fatigue with it. I don't know. But it seems like a lot of people have that problem where not too long after you spray it, it's pretty weak. Justin went through that. I get about maybe 45 minutes of projection before it's sitting close to the skin. 45 minutes to an hour is pretty much like the extent of it in like 4 or 5 hours in longevity. Now, I do think it's an ideal close quarters, intimate setting fragrance for those that don't want an obnoxious, intrusive, overwhelming fragrance. It's perfect for that. There are uses in my collection for this. Me and the wife both like the way it smells. It works perfect in my date night rotation. It really does. But for most people, I understand, because if this was an 8-hour fragrance, it would have so many more uses. So I get where people are coming from, because the price of everything continues to grow. And in this case, the performance seemed to lessen, and there's nothing really new brought forth here. It's kind of like a darker but stripped down take on the last release in many ways. So I understand where there's a huge disappointment for most people with this, where it's nice, but it could have been so much better. Because I agree, it is nice. I do like it. I'm going to wear it. But it absolutely could have been so much better. Viktor and Rolf, Spicebomb, Dark Leather. Now, I thoroughly disagree with the disappointment in this one, but when something's so hyped, so wildly popular, there's going to be a lot of naysayers to it, as well as people that enjoy it. This is Lattafa's Asad Zanzibar. This came out to a lot of hype and fanfare, and while I don't think it's some 10 out of 10 fragrance, I think for the money, especially the low $20 price point that it's now at, it's almost a no-brainer if you like coconut. It's a slightly creamy, watery, powdery, kind of tropical coconut, but it's also got this smoked accord in the dry down, because it's incense and vanilla. It comes across as roasted tonka beans to me, is kind of how I've always described it. I get really good performance out of this one. I do think it's a like a charred tropical coconut fragrance because of that smokiness. It's not overly fruity and citric. Like, it's a different twist on coconut. I don't see why people dislike it so much that don't like it, and then there's people that just rave that, oh, those people are crazy. This is amazing. It's my favorite $25 fragrance, because you can get this one cheap. Again, I get great performance. I love the scent profile. I think it's a great move for Lattafa. I like the direction that they're starting to move in to create more originals and working with master perfumers. I think it was a good move. So this is one that I disagree on, that I think was actually a really good release for the brand that I very much enjoy. It's Lattafa Asad Zanzibar. Oh, buddy, is this the argument for the other side of the coin of which is the worst wanted? And I've never thought it was bad. People just, I don't know, just underwhelmed by it. It's lime and ginger. It's really good. It's fresh. You can get it in the 20-some-odd dollar range. It's a tester. This one I don't have a cap, but Azzaro Wanted Tonic. So it's between these two on which is the worst. I like it. I've always liked it. Lime and ginger. You don't like lime and ginger? Okay. Well, I don't know what you were expecting with a tonic flanker. It's literally named, I think, appropriately. It's a fresher twist on the original's DNA. I think this is a better flanker to the original Wanted than this is. I really do. I think this doesn't really completely just smell like an eau de parfum version of the original Wanted, whereas this does smell like a fresher, more tonic-like, because it's more about citrus. It's not as fiery hot spice like cinnamon. It's ginger, so it freshens things up a little bit, adds a crisp brightness to it. Average performer, nothing crazy, like maybe 6 hours. I like it, and you can still get it for around $25 from discounters. It's not bad. I've never thought it was. People take content creators' opinions way too seriously to heart. Like, some of you might be taking everything I'm saying here to heart. Don't. It's just my opinion. Just like anybody that's ever told you this was garbage. It's just their opinion. You might love it, because I have come across some people that was like, I gave it a shot. It's crazy. I actually think it's great. It's my favorite Wanted. Because you don't know till you try these things for yourself. Everybody's different. It's so subjective. And if you ever run across it and you're like, what the hell, I'm going to give it a shot? Sure. Do you need to run out and seek it? Am I saying that? No. It's not so special to me that I'm like, oh, no brainer for 25. No. I'm not saying that. I do think, though, it's unfairly crapped on, and it's a lot better than it's ever gotten credit for. It's Azzaro Wanted Tonic. And just for good measure, the last one, this is more of a me thing than a you thing, because this is, I think, the worst fragrance I've ever smelled. Cool Water Oceanic Edition. Came out last year. Easily the most disappointing release of last year for me. Easily. It's not even close. Like, I understand where this was up there for a lot of people, but this blows it out the water with just, Freshwater aquatic and body odor. Through the atomizer, out in the air, on skin. High school locker room after a football game, right here in a bottle. I can't get that comparison out my mind. It smells like sweaty shoulder pads. That kind of funk. It's awful. It's awful. I just can't do it. I did a full review on this one. I have crapped all over this fragrance. It's not often you'll hear me take joy out of just saying bad things about a fragrance because it's a fun hobby, but some things deserve it. And to me, and look, you might like this, you might not get what I get from it. It goes back to subjectivity. Don't take what I'm saying to heart. It is how I feel. It is my experience with this fragrance, but this is so bad. And I just can't believe that there's a cool water flanker out there that I find is just so bad because they're all just typically pretty easy to like, easy going, you know, nothing special, but they all typically, they smell good, you know. Some of them better than others, but they all generally, they smell good. Right? Cool water flankers. Not this. No, this is crap. I'm kind of glad I came across it so I can have that exception to the rule on most things smelling good, because this is part of the other side of most things smelling good, where there's some things that don't. And again, it's a personal taste thing. Maybe it's, and I can't chalk it up to skin chemistry, because out in the air and through the atomizer, it smells that same profile to me. So yeah, I don't know how many of you agree with me, but to me, this is like the worst release ever, honestly, let alone from last year. It's Davidoff's Cool Water Oceanic Edition. Well, that's the 7. Do you agree with my assessment? Do you agree with the counter side to the assessment that I had in positive ways about others? Like, are you on the side that thinks this is terrible? Do you think this is terrible? Do you think this is good? I'm curious. Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe before you leave. I'll catch you guys in the next one.